So this is where we left off last time. So I'm gonna hit Shift P here. And we've got some nice detail on the nose and the nosal area, all that stuff. Now we want to add a little bit of detail to break up the skull. So if we look at our reference again, you'll notice that the skull itself is made up of 8 bones, and they're connected by these little cuts here, which are called sutures, right? They look like stitching sutures. And it helps to sort of think about this if you're like, okay, as I'm moving around my skull, I'm going to just draw on these lines where these sutures are to kind of separate it out. And what we can do is we can turn on our sculptress brush and just with our clay buildup, just add a little bit more geo in these areas here. Let's hit Shift P so you can see that a little bit better. Make sure that's selected too. Yeah, I'm sorry, Shift F. So we're just going to add a little more geo everywhere there's a suture in there. And then we're going to go back here. Something like that. We're just kind of adding a little more, just where we need it, right? It's where we're going to add those cuts. Now I'm going to hit Shift F and then Shift P, and I'm going to go ahead and hold Shift and smooth this out. And what you'll notice is, as I'm smoothing this out, it kind of gives me a little bit more geo too in those areas. Kind of spread that out a little bit more. All right, let's turn this off. Really give myself a nice smoothness in there to kind of just really spread that geo out. And then what I want you to do is let's let's make sure that we didn't completely lose our detail in here. So I'm just grabbing my clay buildup and then re-highlighting in that area like that. See that? And then I'm going to grab my Damien standard, so B for brush, D, and then S for standard. And then just kind of, I'll divide my skull one more time with Control D. Hit Shift P here. Smooth this out a little bit. And get into that area. And just highlight or accent those areas a little bit. And it's okay to exaggerate it because we need that exaggeration for the normal map. Just go all the way around the head here. And then let's add our draw brush to the side here so we can edit that a little bit. I'm sorry, draw panel. Let's dock this down a little. Gonna smooth out this edge. Go a little bit tinier here. I'm kind of off a little bit there, but that's okay. Let's go straight down the middle of the skull here. We could actually, I'm gonna hit X here, take off symmetry and just make this a little more interesting. I'm just kind of adding my own little cuts going around like that. I'm gonna connect these. Smooth that out. Alright, what we can do next is we're gonna give it a little bit more surface because our skull has a lot of, you can see it in the shininess here, there's some bumps. So a really easy way to do that, and this is also kind of an introduction to how you can do skin pores, is under surface here. Let me turn this off. I'm just gonna go to make noise here, and you can see in our image here, if I zoom in, what it does is, you don't see it here because it's not added yet, but you can see it gives it a little bit of surface definition. I'm gonna increase that scale just a little bit like that, and I'm gonna hit OK. And I'm gonna do the same thing for the bottom jaw. Just turn on noise. Let's a look at that. Increase the scale a little bit. Hit OK. Now this is dependent on how much geo you have. So watch what's going to happen when we go in here to just this area versus this area that doesn't have a lot of geometry. When I go ahead and hit apply to mesh, notice that this got a lot of geo or a lot of information and this did not. So that's kind of part of the reason I hit Control Z to undo that. We need to add a bunch of geo across it. So what I'm going to do now that I have that information, is I'm just going to go to Dynamesh under geometry here, and I'm going to Dynamesh my model. Let's go a lot higher than that. Let's go 1024 and Dynamesh it. Let's hit Shift F to see. That looks like pretty good. And then I'm going to go back to my noise. So surface, noise, and I'm just going to hit apply to mesh. And now it's applied. Let's do the same thing up here. Select that. Let's Dynamesh our model. Let's do 1024. You never want to freeze it. I mean, there are times, but for the sake of this class, please don't freeze your model. So I hit yes, which is really stupid. So reconstruct subdivisions is going to screw it up now. All right, let's go back into here. Unmask that. Let's try that again. Let's see if I can go back beyond before that subdivision. Come on, there we go. So let's go up, there we go. And then we're going to delete lower so we don't have to look at that subdivision. And then we're going to go ahead and Dynamesh this at 1024. Alright, let's hit Shift F. Looks pretty good. Now what I want to do is, we're actually going to, in the next video, we're going to construct the low poly and unwrap it inside of Maya. And what we're going to do is we're going to create sort of a, let's kind of smooth this out a little here. We don't want to get these striations, but for now it's fine. Sort of like a type of skull you'd have in a mobile video game. And from that, you'll still learn how to create a one for like a high-res video game. So we're just trying to capture the surface normals. For your homework assignment, getting to this level is fine, but ideally you would love to get every one of these facets, these little bumps, things like that, the striations in the teeth. It's just because of time I can spend just another 5 or 6 videos just on detailing the model, and we need to move on to finishing the rest of the skeleton and teaching you other ZBrush tools.